Entertainment Tonight will not be shown this evening, so that we may present the following News 8 special.
That's the only experience I have missed in my life. And knowing that this is my last life, I would certainly want to be arrested.
The Bhagwan is in jail in North Carolina, and Sheila is in jail in West Germany. 4 years of accusations climaxed this week with the arrest of the Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh and 14 other Rajneeshis on charges that range from lying to immigration authorities to attempted murder. Good evening, I'm Pete Schulberg.
And I'm Tracy Berry. In the next half hour, we'll recap the events of this extraordinary week with live reports from the East Coast and from Europe. We'll look at what's happened so far and hear what people close to the events say will be happening next.
News 8 broke the story Sunday night after 2 private jets took off from Rajneeshpuram. There had been reports Bhagwan had been indicted and that federal authorities planned to arrest him at the ranch Monday or Tuesday. Instead, at 11 o'clock Sunday night, we could report Bhagwan had left Oregon, but that his plane had been stopped and that Bhagwan had been taken into federal custody in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Tom Ackerman, live in our Washington, D.C. bureau, picks up the story from here. Tom?
Well, whether it was meant to be a vacation jaunt or a run from the law, the way things turned out was not at all the way the Bhagwan had intended.
But in the space of a day, the Guru's diamond watches had been replaced by steel manacles. His tailored robe switched for prison fatigues. When he took off from Rajneeshpuram Sunday afternoon, the Bhagwan said he had no idea where he was going, only that his friends were taking him away for a few days. His first trip out of Oregon since he arrived 4 years ago, and just a day before the federal government intended to unseal a grand jury indictment, charging him with breaking the immigration laws. But federal authorities were keeping close track of his flight path, and when the 2 Lear jets carrying him and 6 disciples landed in Charlotte, customs men and marshals were waiting with guns drawn.
The second plane that came in, I guess they were waiting on someone to come out and meet them. Well, no one came out and met them there. They were a few minutes there that was kind of wait and see what's going to happen, so we blocked the airplane about the time they were unloading, and then we surrounded the plane, and there were no incidents.
Brought before a magistrate Monday afternoon, the Rajneeshis were told the government would take a full 3 days to prepare for a preliminary hearing. In the meantime, said the prosecutors, all 7 prisoners should be detained without bond. The Bhagwan was now a guest of the Mecklenburg County Jail.
The Bhagwan's sudden arrival in this quiet southern town where Billy Graham got his start threw its residents for something of a loop. The more so when they learned that the ex-wife and children of one of Charlotte's richest businessmen were not only staunch sannyasin, but had tried to engineer his onward flight out of the country.
It was an attempt that hadn't gotten very far, even if the feds hadn't stepped in when they did.
We were asked if we had the capability to go to Bermuda, and we just said no because of we don't have the correct communication navigation equipment on board, the high-frequency equipment that we need to get out there.
The best of your knowledge, why did you come to Charlotte?
What we believed was happening was that the Bhagwan was simply sick and that they were trying to find a medical facility for him, and that was why the flight was so urgent and last minute, and until we landed here and opened the door, that's what we were going on.
The Bhagwan's right-hand woman called it a vacation, just a few days break from the death threats, the tension, and the media glare, anticipating the grand jury decision.
Why would Bhagwan be leaving, right, with a chartered jet in broad daylight, with press all over the ranch? If he was going to leave the United States, you're insinuating.
Bhagwan's personal attorney claimed that as late as Sunday, he tried but failed to get the government to confirm the indictments were ready so a surrender could be worked out. But when he learned the Bhagwan had taken off...
I therefore advised that if any effort could be made to reach the plane, that be done, and that they be advised to return to Oregon.
The government, though, had a different story. That Shea told U.S. Attorney Charles Turner he knew for a fact on Sunday about the secret indictments and exactly who had been named. The Bhagwan's lawyers were now under suspicion of aiding and abetting the flight. In court Thursday, the full dimensions of the government case came out. Portland INS investigator Joseph Green described the Bhagwan's close disciples as British, Canadian, or Indian citizens who, under the Guru's orders, had arranged for permanent U.S. residence by marrying Americans. Then another bombshell, that a former commune member, now seeking federal witness protection, told the FBI that Sheila and others talked over assassination plans against Turner and Oregon Attorney General Dave Frohnmeyer. That talk, said Turner's assistant, Robert Weaver, went so far as an actual attempt to kill an official. The Bhagwan's loyal followers in the courtroom were incensed by the charge that their guru was somehow involved.
There is no danger for any public official. It was Bhagwan himself who called the law enforcement agencies at the ranch and offered cooperation to investigate these allegations against public officials and against some of the people who are here today.
The Bhagwan listened to all the charges impassively, with just an occasional scornful stare at the prosecutor. But just before his first night under lock and key, the Bhagwan spoke his emotions.
Once I have finished with this case, I'm going to move out of America.
Tonight, the Bhagwan is still behind bars. After another all-day hearing, the magistrate dismissed charges of fleeing prosecution, but she ordered the guru returned to Oregon to face arraignment and trial on the counts in the indictment. Bail was denied, she said, because the Bhagwan still posed a risk of flight based on his past conduct, his access to large sums of money, and considering his devoted followers who might mount an escape attempt for him. All charges were dismissed against 3 of his followers. The other 3 still face counts of harboring a fugitive, and they posted $25,000 bail apiece. The Bhagwan is expected back in Oregon early next week.
Tom, any chance at all that the Bhagwan's attorneys will try to get him out on bail again? They failed this time, but could they try another time?
They could try again when he comes back to Oregon. They could try with a trial judge, Judge Levy, who will try the case itself. They may try again with a magistrate in U.S. District Court in Portland, yes.
Okay, Tom Ackerman in Washington, D.C., thank you very much. Meanwhile, the Bhagwan's arrest ends a 4-year-long federal effort to charge him with violations of immigration law. The grand jury indictment says a conspiracy began while the Bhagwan was still in Pune, India, when he and Sheila and 6 others made plans for a permanent move to the United States. The government claims the Bhagwan asked for a temporary visa to come to the U.S. for medical reasons. But from the beginning, he was lying. The Bhagwan planned to come and to stay. Once he had his temporary visa, Bhagwan and his belongings were flown first to a mansion in New Jersey. And then, when the property had been acquired in Central Oregon, he was moved to the 100-square-mile ranch, where he and his co-conspirators plan to establish the world headquarters for their religion. The 35-count indictment says there was a second conspiracy to bring followers from around the world to help build the Rajneeshpuram commune, and that among the many marriages between Americans and foreigners, some were shams, marriages to get those people permanent resident visas. Among those the government says had sham marriages are the Bhagwan's personal physician, Devaraj, Shanti Bhadra, the former treasurer of the religious foundation, Prem Isabel, the head of the Rajneeshpuram Chamber of Commerce, and Prem Niren, who is both Bhagwan's lawyer and the mayor of Rajneeshpuram. 5 of the people charged with the Bhagwan have appeared in federal court and pleaded innocent. They've been freed without bail and allowed to return to Rajneeshpuram. But because the government says Bhagwan might try to flee the country, authorities don't want him out on bail. And according to the U.S. Attorney in Oregon, if Bhagwan gets the maximum penalty for all the charges against him, he'll face a maximum fine of $350,000 and a prison sentence of 175 years.
Now, Sheila is charged in the same alleged conspiracy, but Sheila also has been indicted for the far more serious crime of attempted murder.
When Rajneesh Update continues, we'll go to Germany for the story of Sheila under arrest.
Don't miss the Home Improvement and Remodeling Show, October 30th through November 3rd at the Expo Center, where you'll find great ideas from start to finish.
Morning is your time. The earth wakes up with you. You always feel that spark of life in everything you do.
Grape nuts. For you, it's as natural as the morning. No sugar added, no preservatives, just an honest nutty crunch. Post Grape Nuts cereal. You know when you've got it good.
Yes, you know when you've got it good.
Got a bad cold? Sneezing, sniffling, achy all over? A lot. You need Children's Co-Tylenol.
Just the way Children's Tylenol brings fever down, Children's Co-Tylenol relieves all the big symptoms of your little one's cold.
I feel better.
I was trying to help. I shampooed Anthony with a Bargain Baby shampoo, but it made him cry.
Many Bargain brands sting, irritate eyes. Only Johnson says no more tears.
No more tears isn't just an ad slogan. We're sticking with Johnson's.
One voice we haven't heard in all this is the woman who used to be Bhagwan's staunchest and most outspoken defender. Ma Anand Sheela, of course, broke with Bhagwan last September and flew to Europe. Most of what we've heard from her since has been through interviews with the European press. The headline from this issue of the German magazine Stern translates as, "The hell with Bhagwan." Here in the United States, the Bhagwan has denounced Sheela and those who left with her as a fascist gang. He claims Sheela and others attempted to poison his doctor and at least 2 other Rajneeshis, that there was a conspiracy to poison the water supply in the Dalles, that they poisoned the district attorney in neighboring Jefferson County, that they poisoned 2 Wasco County commissioners, and that they tapped phones at Rajneeshpuram and even had hidden microphones in the Bhagwan's own bedroom. Now, Sheela may have been forced to leave the ranch after she lost out in a power struggle with the new leadership in Rajneeshpuram, the people she now calls the Hollywood Gang. In any case, a Wasco County grand jury believed the story that she and 2 others tried to poison the Bhagwan's doctor.
Sheela was arrested in West Germany on Monday. Scott Miller is standing by right now in Frankfurt, West Germany, with that part of the story. Hello, Scott. What can you tell us?
Well, Pete and Tracy, Sheela, Shanti Bhadra, and Pooja are still in jail, a different jail, but behind bars nonetheless. Meanwhile, lawyers on both sides are working feverishly to prepare their cases as the battle over extraditing the 3 to stand trial for trying to kill Bhagwan's doctor begins. They're getting a lot of help, or Sheela's lawyers are getting a lot of help, from those who left the ranch with her. They're trying to gather as much information about the charges as they can get. Photographer Ben Neves and I talked with that group in the south of Germany. The refugees from Rajneeshpuram came to Germany's Black Forest almost immediately after leaving the ranch in mid-September. They've rented an entire guest house in the tiny town of Heusern and become so isolated that the arrival of a fresh American newspaper is a major event. In this case, the former sannyasins knew the story behind the headline all too well. Ma Anand Sheela, who still commands unshaken loyalty from this group, and 2 others were arrested on charges of attempted murder. They were taken here to a small jail on the Swiss border to await extradition proceedings.
We were greeted by about 25 policemen who came in, and they came in quite forcibly, quite strongly, and they came up the stairwells and in front of the doors and blocked the stairwells and the doors. And we had no idea why they were here.
And the first thing that Sheela said is, do you have clean bed sheets? Because that's what my concern is, that at least I have clean bed sheets. And the German police said they hoped that they were clean, but we packed some bed sheets anyway.
Shortly after the arrest, German police, accompanied by FBI agents and an investigator from the Oregon Attorney General's office, searched the guest house. From the beginning, Sheela's attorney, Ottmar Wackenheim, objected to the American presence.
The German police has to do it. I mean, you're here with a lot of help. I think this is a very weird behavior. It doesn't make any sense to just write down what's inside. You copy the label, you have no responsibility for the contents.
Or tell them I'm not going to make any statement.
Is it difficult to understand the German labels?
That I will comment on, yes.
One ex-sannyasin, who's a German citizen, is ready to take the matter to court.
And I'm not happy at all with the American police acting here in Germany without having any authority and having the German police let them do that. And I intend to do something against that.
That could become a major legal question. It's illegal for foreign officers to execute search warrants in Germany. The German press quotes Justice Ministry officials as denying FBI agents did any of the searching themselves. But Sheela's friends are clearly upset and may use the charge in fighting the extradition battle. Meanwhile, Sheela has been moved to a larger prison in the town of Buhl. She's awaiting a preliminary extradition hearing here on Monday and steadfastly proclaiming her innocence.
The only thing I can say, and she said too, is that the accusation is totally absurd.
Or one day we fall in love.
Sheela's new husband, Deepo, says all the allegations are just Bhagwan's way of getting even.
It's all just
revenge because the best people left.
In fact, all of Sheila's companions blamed Bhagwan for their departure, not the fear of prosecution.
But gradually I saw that Bhagwan was increasingly more interested in his own material situation.
But one member of the household does have her own legal worries. Mayoga Vidya, the former president of the commune, has been indicted along with Bhagwan on charges of immigration fraud.
No, I'm not frightened because I haven't done anything wrong, and neither have any of the other 20 people done anything wrong.
The group is looking forward to life together and possibly opening a hotel someday.
The life I'm going to follow has nothing to do with Bhagwan. Has to do with what we want, what I want, what my friends want together. And that's it. There's nothing to do with the organization we were in the past.
But right now, they're busy trying to get their good friends out of some very serious trouble. Well, Sheila and the others in Germany's Black Forest may be outcasts here, but the plight of Bhagwan is a subject of concern at Rajneesh communes in West Germany. Thursday, 1,500 followers of Bhagwan protested in 4 cities. The largest protest was in Bonn, where an estimated 1,000 sannyasins gathered on a city street to protest his treatment in a Charlotte, North Carolina jail. A similar protest was staged in West Berlin, and 200 Rajneeshis showed up in both Hamburg and Munich. They went to the U.S. consulates in those cities to demand his release. The West German sannyasins told news conferences here that his life is endangered by imprisonment. Police say there were no disturbances. Similar demonstrations were reported in 3 cities in India today as well. And Tracy and Pete, I understand there was a demonstration in your neck of the woods in Portland as well.
That's right, Scott. About 250 Rajneeshis turned out to protest today the way Bhagwan is being treated. But about the proceedings there, now, is there any way to predict how long those extradition hassles will continue?
Well, I can tell you there's a lot of bureaucracy to go through. The state charges have to go first to the U.S. Department of Justice, then to the State Department, then through the U.S. Embassy in Bonn, to the German Foreign Ministry, and then to the German Ministry of Justice. Eventually, the case will be decided in the German courts. But the restrainer on all this is that Sheila can only be held for 40 days before the state of Oregon gets its case through the circuitous process and gets the proceedings underway.
All right, thank you very much. Scott Miller reporting live from Frankfurt, Germany. Well, as Scott has just reported, U.S. officials are still trying to untangle the reams of red tape involving the extradition. Kathy Kiyomura today talked about the difficulties with Attorney General Dave Frohnmayer, who is heading the Oregon investigation.
We have to produce official copies of the arrest warrant, official copies of the indictments. They have to be translated here in German. That's already been done. Then they have to be sent to our Justice Department, then to the United States State Department. From there, they go to the German Foreign Ministry, and from the German Foreign Ministry, they go to the German Department of Justice, and from there, they go to whatever court or state authorities in Germany would have jurisdiction to make those decisions.
Oregon Attorney General Dave Frohnmayer is fighting a war of red tape to extradite Sheila and 2 others to Oregon from West Germany. The 3 are wanted on attempted murder, assault, and conspiracy charges in the poisoning of the Bhagwan's personal physician.
We are in telephonic contact with our investigator there. We not only have the problems of language and international operators, but we have the problem that there's 9 hours time difference. So just about the time we're reporting to work, people are ready to eat dinner or maybe even putting on their pajamas. So it's a problem of coordination that obviously is a significant problem when you're talking about things that move as quickly as this investigation has.
How's your German?
Sehr gut, danke schön.
Attorney General Frohnmayer still will not comment on reports that he was a target of a Rajneeshi hit squad that also wanted to kill U.S. Attorney Charles Turner and Les Zeitz, an investigative reporter for the Oregonian newspaper.
Even to say how I handle it would be, I think, making more comment on what was said in court in North Carolina than really is appropriate or professional for me under the circumstances. So I'll have to leave the answer to that question to some other time.
Separation of church and state is a legal issue close to Frohnmayer. The state still has a lawsuit charging the city of Rajneeshpuram is an unconstitutional mingling of church and state. But the Bhagwan has said, quote, there is no religion.
It's either religious or it's not. It's either public or it's private. It's either tax exempt or taxable. You can't have things both ways a lot of times. And when you declare yourself, when you file documents with government agencies, when you claim tax exemptions, when you claim the benefits that our country gives to religious groups, and then attempt to disavow it when it gets you into trouble, then I think a court will tend to make pretty short shrift of that.
According to Frohnmeyer, there are still state investigators at the ranch looking into allegations of wrongdoing. And there is still a grand jury in session in the Dalles listening to evidence of Rajneeshi criminal activity. But the extradition of Sheila and her gang is taking up the bulk of his Rajneeshi casework.
The cooperation is everything that we could have hoped for. But ultimately the decision as to extradition always rests with the host country.
If Sheila and her gang are extradited back to the United States, they may have to spend time in the Wasco County Jail in the Dalles. But officials there say there's only 4 cells available for female prisoners. Judge William Hull says if there's no room for Sheila and her gang, he'll build it. In Portland, this is Kathy Kiyomura, News 8.
The Bhagwan's followers were among the last to know about his arrest. We'll have reaction from the ranch when Rajneesh Update continues.
Saturday is a super day filled with exceptional savings at Meyer & Frank. Shop 8 a.m. until 11 p.m. and save Saturday at all Meyer & Frank stores.
The following is an announcement of no interest from Waterbed Emporium. This week during our gigantic store-wide clearance sale, not only will you find the guaranteed lowest prices on waterbeds and bedroom furniture, but we'll give you 12 months to pay with no interest. Every price is reduced with no payments for 12 months, and we pay the interest. Interested? Well, then hurry in today, because this offer ends Monday at both Waterbed Emporium showrooms, including the Northwest largest showroom at 6908 Southwest Beaverton-Hillsdale Highway at Shoals Ferry Road.
Bickmore Dodge and Coachman RV on Canyon Road in Beaverton announces 9.5% financing on selected 1985 Dodges, Plymouths, and Chryslers. No minimum down and 4 years to pay. This 85 LeBaron GTS or this Dodge Lancer with air, automatic and more, your choice, $89.99. Finance at 9.5%. This 85 Reliant wagon or Turismo 2+2 is just $79.99. Your choice. Finance at 9.5%. Bickmore Dodge and Coachman RV on Canyon Road in Beaverton, where we rent cars and trucks for $10 per day.
MTV is capitalist swill. Born in East LA. They take stupid rock and roll and make idiot little films. With each new video on MTV, America gets weaker. Never. So America, keep watching it.
MTV. Some people just don't get it.
We built this channel on rock and roll.
Last Sunday night, as soon as we confirmed Bhagwan had left, John Tuttle was on his way to the ranch.
And he is in the newsroom now to tell us how the Rajneeshis themselves are taking all of this. John?
Tracy and Pete, there's been an evolution of attitude at the ranch since Bhagwan left and was arrested. The initial responses may be a little hard for outsiders to understand, but they are typical of Rajneeshis.
We were at the Magdalena cafeteria in Rajneeshpuram just hours after the word was out.
It made a headline again. En route to Bermuda.
Bhagwan was in jail in North Carolina, and the essence of the reaction from most people I talked to was, okay, what else is new?
There was a short meeting this morning, you know, and where they said Bhagwan has been arrested. And the next moment, the cooks came to me because I coordinate the vegetable and said, where are the potatoes?
That's the kind of reaction that is.
That's the reality here now, you know? I mean, we are in Magdalena, Bhagwan has been arrested, where are the potatoes?
I mean, Bhagwan is just continually surprising us. And it's nothing new, basically, what's happening, what he's doing.
That first day, there were no regrets he was gone and no show of concern. If anything, people thought it was funny.
Lots of laughter.
Celebrating everything.
The thing is, we got to get some grey striped robes for a man if he's in prison.
Well, that's right. This is what an enlightened master does. A real enlightened master pulls strokes like this. You know.
He leaves you?
Yeah, he does things like
done
this. This is how.
Would you believe it if Bhagwan had in fact been headed for Bermuda?
Yes.
Yeah, who cares where he was headed? Yeah. It doesn't matter at all.
Much warmer there.
Well, he's
In those first several days, commune leaders weren't saying anything, and people were getting their information from newspapers. Tuesday, a shipment of 100 Oregonians sold out in minutes. But gradually, the moods began to harden, and it was no longer a joke.
It's like having a loved one be charged as a criminal falsely, but still we're carrying on his life as usual, and we are determined to fight.
The law must be inhuman. It seems that if they prosecute him for false immigration, it's persecution. It's just using the law to hit us and hit Bhagwan out of spite.
The full impact came Tuesday night when the community got its news from television. Videotapes of news stories from Portland stations and the networks were played on a big screen in the communal meeting hall, including shots of their spiritual leader in chains. Where the first reactions had been laughter, now there were tears.
Excuse me, what do you think of the videos you saw tonight?
I'm shocked to see him like that. I'm really shocked.
It's disgusting.
It's terrible.
How do you think he's feeling? How do you think
he's feeling great. There's a difference between him and his body.
I have not committed any crime.
Those tapes were played again the following day. Again, there was disbelief, shock, and more tears.
I'm worried about him, and I'm angry about the way he's being treated.
To see a man who's never hurt anyone and who's never done any harm to anyone, shackled like a psychopathic killer, shows me that the United States government's terrified of this man.
One point from the news interviews with Bhagwan in jail probably stuck in the minds of most Oregonians.
Once I have finished with this case, I'm going to move out of America.
Where would you go?
I'll go to my country.
The Bhagwan had said he'd return to India, but what he added was that first he would fight and finish this case, and only then would he move. But now the Rajneeshis were being asked which was more important to them, the commune in Oregon or following Bhagwan to India.
Sure, I'll go wherever he is, if it's possible.
No problem. I came from India to here. What's the difference? With this man, there's just joy everywhere you go with this man. And if I have the opportunity to follow him to India, then I'm not going to be sad about leaving this place. I've been with him for 8 years now, and I've traveled many places in the world around where this man was. And I would not feel sadness leaving.
It doesn't matter where you went. Even if he went to the moon, we follow him.
Dion John, part of the new Rajneeshi leadership, tempered his answer with if and unless, but otherwise he said the same thing to reporters in a news conference.
Well, if Bhagwan were to leave the country, the commune would proceed and go on as it now is, business as usual, unless Bhagwan were to invite us to come and be with him, at which time we would sell the ranch, sell the assets, liquidate, and go en masse. And so we're just going to have to wait and see what happens on that score.
There was one other interview we just didn't have time to run. A Rajneeshi woman who said she'd heard Bhagwan say he would move to India. She said her first reaction was, all right, in 2 days, he's going to say something else.
Okay, John, thank you very much. Right now, we're going to go to Charlotte, North Carolina, where Floyd McKay has been covering the Bhagwan's hearing today. Floyd, you've been covering the Rajneeshis ever since they first came to Oregon. What is your perspective on this week's events?
Well, it seems to me, Pete, that the important fight here in Charlotte today was bail for the Bhagwan. He's now in a no-win situation, barring some type of compromise. There's an element of punishment before conviction here if someone of Bhagwan's lifestyle and health spends months behind bars on charges that would normally allow bail. So even if he wins at trial, he loses. Maybe his commune, maybe his health. Society may have Bhagwan right where it wants him, but I wonder how comfortable we should be with this situation. Arrogance is not a crime in this country, but sometimes it's punishable. Peter and Tracy?
All right, thank you. Floyd McKay reporting from Charlotte. And now let's check back in with Scott Miller, who is in Frankfurt, West Germany. He's been covering the proceedings with Sheila and the others. Scott, do the former sannyasins that you've spoke with in southern Germany, do they seem to care what's going on back here?
Well, they very much do. In terms of how they feel about Bhagwan, some of them say that he was dumb to get himself involved in that situation anyway by trying to leave Oregon. Others say they're sad. And others say they just don't care. They feel that Bhagwan has gotten their revenge on them, and now he's got to face his own music.
All right. Thank you very much. Scott Miller reporting from Frankfurt. Well, we call this program a Rajneesh Update. It's just that. We can bring you up to date, but we really can't offer any conclusion. There are those people who think that with Bhagwan facing possible prison time, Rajneesh Param and the Rajneeshis may just fade away, or that if he gets the chance, he'll cut a deal to leave the country and everyone with him will follow.
But Rajneeshi leaders tell us they're experiencing a new period of growth, that the arrest is actually bringing more people to Bhagwan. They believe he'll be cleared of all charges, and eventually the United States government will be forced to give him permanent resident status, that he'll emerge stronger than ever. Well, what will happen? That will be another update. For Tracy Barry and the entire News 8 staff, good night.
Good night.